We all know that child abuse is terrible and can have lifelong effects on a person, but a recent study offers some hope for those victims who might want to start their own family someday. Hey everyone, Julia here for D News. According to one study published in JAMA Pediatrics, over 5 million American children suffer from some form of maltreatment. To put that statistic in another light, that's nearly 1 in 8 American children. Each year, over 4,500 kids will wind up in hospital for abuse-related injuries. That's really not okay. But there's some good news. A recent study published in the journal Science found that the cycle of violence isn't fate. The researchers wanted to see if these abused children would in turn abuse their children. They interviewed hundreds of victims of abuse in 1989 and followed up with them over the years. Most of the victims are now parents themselves. Researchers found that people who experienced childhood abuse were not more likely to physically abuse their children, which came as a surprise. That's good news for anyone who's concerned about perpetuating the cycle. However, the subjects were more likely to neglect or sexually abuse their children, and one researcher is concerned that the lower physical abuse figures were the result of reporting. Reporting something as neglect and not physical abuse often takes less paperwork for Child Protective Services and is more effective in getting a child help. And I shouldn't even have to say it, but all forms of childhood maltreatment are harmful. People who experience childhood abuse often have more problems with substance abuse and mental health issues later in life. The experience can trigger PTSD and can even change a person's gene expression. One study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences Early Edition found that people who developed PTSD as a result of their childhood trauma had distinct changes in their gene expression related to things like cell death and growth rate regulation. It even affected their immune systems. The researchers say that childhood abuse is embedded in a person's cells for a long time. And it's not just physical changes. Another study published in Violence and Victims found that abuse survivors scored lower on ratings of overall well-being, measuring less tangible things like self-esteem, self-independence, and life satisfaction. And it's good news to hear that the cycle of abuse isn't a guarantee, and victims aren't always subject to the bad hand fate has dealt them. One study published in the Journal of Family Violence found that marriage and education seem to temper some of the effects of childhood maltreatment. Being married and/or graduating high school lowered the risk of depression and alcohol problems. Decreasing inequality also reduces the likelihood of abuse. Some studies, like one by researchers from Cornell University, suggest a link between poverty and abuse. One of the researchers said that reducing poverty and inequality would be the single most effective way to prevent maltreatment of children. While many scientific inquiries of childhood abuse seem to focus on physical abuse, emotional abuse can be just as painful. Tara explains why in this video here.
What they found is that a staggering number of children, 62%, had a history of psychological maltreatment, and 24% of the cases they studied were exclusively related to psychological maltreatment.
Alright, got any other questions about the tough stuff? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, hit those like and subscribe buttons and keep coming back here. We've got new episodes every day of the week.